mic.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Oh, caught me. Caught me. Hang on.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls' and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did. Someone once said, "Where your treasure goes, there also will be your heart." What kind of world do you want to invest in? Do your investments fund industries that tempt people to harm relationships? What if you could be more intentional with your money? What if your investments built content that enriched others' minds? Jason Huntley, CFP, has been guiding families for 30 plus years to plan, invest, and build for the next generation. Scan the QR code now to make that first step to investing intentional.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Patty's Day version of the Right Side podcast. My wonderful guest today is James Dixon. We'll talk about him in just a minute. Just want to welcome you to happy St. Patty's Day. We at the Livingston County Republican Party celebrated our St. Patty's Day Saturday with a fantastic parade in Pinckney. We sang the Unicorn song at the top of our lungs on our float, and had everybody having a good time. And of course, our very first every single week is Mark Ashley Price from Highland Park. Hello, Mark. James, I always tease Mark that he's exactly 50% of the Wayne County Democrat Republicans out there. So anyway, so welcome, James. I'm really glad that you came out here. Love to have you introduce yourself to Livingston County. So let's just start off by telling us a little bit about you. Give us your little bio there, your personal bio.
Absolutely. So Deb, first of all, thank you for having me. Mm-hmm. And it's a blessing to see you and to be here today. So I spent 10 years at the Detroit News. And so that was from 2012 to 2022. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I saw the degradation of the news field, as anything Trump did was automatically bad, and regardless of the actual outcomes of things. And then I saw during COVID where the media, rather than covering Governor Gretchen Whitmer, they covered for Gretchen Whitmer.
Right.
We had an unprecedented shredding of our Michigan Constitution and U.S. Constitution, and rather than be the advocate for 10 million Michiganders, what we saw is the media set out to explain Governor Whitmer to the public rather than hold her to account using the public's concerns as fuel.
Right.
And so I think that's how they went from record hits in 2021 to begging for dimes. I mean, they're literally doing the March of Dimes subscription drive these days, trying to get support. So that whole thing led me to, I've always been a conservative, but that whole thing really radicalized me and pushed me in this direction.
Okay, so where are you from originally? You sort of we jumped right we jumped right into Detroit news. Go back up from there.
Oh yeah, grew up in Inkster.
Oh, okay.
Grew up in Inkster, and so that's a Metro Detroit suburb. At the time, I didn't know that we were a poor family. I didn't know that. All I knew, growing up there, is that it was a place where I had a lot of friends, a lot of different types of people I hung out with.
Sure.
There was parks we could play baseball at and t-ball at the time, and it was just a fine place. I had a great childhood, and then you grow up and you learn that things don't run themselves.
Right.
Society doesn't run itself, and so in high school, when I was thinking that Michigan did run itself, we had Jennifer Granholm as the governor. She was elected in 2002, the year I graduated. But also, I mean, there was at one point when you had Rick Johnson as our House Speaker,
right,
and Kwame Kilpatrick. There's a famous picture where they're both getting sworn in together.
He was the minority leader.
That absolutely, and so those were the days when I thought Michigan ran itself. And when you look back at that picture, you see how dire the circumstance is. And so what you learn from all these things is that Michigan is going to reflect someone's vision of Michigan. And if it's not yours, chances are it's someone's vision you cannot live with.
Okay, so this is you grew up, and actually, Inkster was a great place. I grew up in Westland, so we were kind of neighbors there. Yeah, they were all great places, and there were nice little houses, little blue collar houses, one next to each other, and great neighborhoods, and like you said, places to play and parks to play baseball. And I grew up playing baseball myself, so those were great places. But you're right, we wait a minute. What do you mean? Why are we speaking so vaguely?
What does that even mean?
What does that mean?
What is that a reference to? We literally started a second ago.
I think someone's being playful. So anyway, well, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt at this point. But so it is a you do learn at some point, you know what, this isn't the way I would do things. Why is this not? Why is my life or why is my state not the way I want it? So tell me, so you went from growing up in Inkster, somewhere you went into the Detroit News. What's the gap there? What's the segue there?
Absolutely. So right out of college, I after leaving the University of Michigan, was able to get a job, a fellowship at the American Spectator. So that was my rookie year in suburban Washington, D.C. My rookie year is like, you're in the conservative movement. This is 2007. So this is during the rise of Barack Obama, right?
Okay.
And so that whole thing happens, and then in my second year, so first year ends up being a red shirt year for me and a lot of journalists.
Sure.
Because you're just learning how to spell your name. I mean, I was spelling it with an X back then. I did not know what I was doing.
All right.
And so then I had applied for the Detroit News, the Detroit Free Press, these kind of things when I was in college. Never got a bite. Never got any interest until I left Detroit.
Okay.
And so when I'm in suburban Washington, when I'm in the best media market in America, that's when Detroit showed interest in me. And so I ended up coming to work a year-long fellowship, working with Nolan Finley at the Detroit News, the editorial page. That was an incredible blessing, because it's not every day that a 24-year-old gets to write at one of the most prestigious. I think Detroit News is still the best publication in Michigan, in a relative sense.
Yeah.
But back then it was just as good as it gets. And so the idea of being 24 and writing editorials and writing stories that people all across the region would read was an incredible blessing. And then it's just sad how it kind of soured over time.
Okay, yeah, so I get it. All right. So and you went from Detroit News intern, they hired you at that point, and you spent how long there?
And so I did the year fellowship at the Detroit News. And then what happened, so this was 2008 going into 2009, And so the economy was very bad back then. This was the financial collapse. And so what ended up happening is they ended up giving me 2 years, right? So I did 2 years of a fellowship, one in Washington, one in Detroit.
Okay.
And so what they did not want to happen at the news was they hire me and immediately have to then let me, lay me off.
Okay.
And so rather than that, I did the second year of the fellowship.
Okay.
But right after that, that's when AnnArbor.com was starting up.
Ah.
And so no one would ever go from the Detroit News to the Ann Arbor News.
Okay.
Right? Because it's just so much smaller of a paper in a community. But when it's AnnArbor.com and it's a new thing, and it's a web venture, it's young, it's exciting, it's hip, that really pulled me in. And so that made me want to check them out and see what that was about. And I figured what ended up being true, which is if I don't come work in Ann Arbor right now, when will I ever have the chance again? And it turns out at this point they wouldn't have me back. And so had I not done it then,
you don't fit the demographic.
not quite the profile,
No.
not quite what they're looking for in Ann Arbor.
No.
Is a black conservative young male who has sharp elbows and has this way of and so that's not what was the valued thing.
If you go back, I want to watch.
Absolutely.
Let me know.
And so that and so then that ended up leading to spend what I consider a year and a half in the wilderness in Ann Arbor. And then one day so I go to Michigan and I'm thinking, what you think when you go to Michigan is that all of Ann Arbor is downtown Ann Arbor. And what you quickly learn is that if you were to drive 5 minutes in any direction from downtown,
right,
you're in cornfields.
Yep.
And so I was literally headed to an assignment at a charter school in the Ann Arbor area, driving through the cornfields, when I get a call from Nolan Finley saying, that I'd been granted a reprieve from the governor of journalism and I'd be allowed to return to Detroit. And so, and this time not on a fellowship. This time I'd be on staff at the news. And that was an incredible blessing. And that was the start of that decade-long career. And so for all the differences I have with Nolan and the Detroit News to this day, I can confidently say I would not be here but for the decade I spent with them.
Sure. I worked at the local paper here, Livingston County Press, for some very, very liberal people, and you're right. You sharpen your sword. You learn thoughts and beliefs and tactics that the other side uses, and you also learn to defend your own position.
Yes,
that's something that people don't understand. When you are inundated or surrounded by those who think differently than you are either going to get the hell beat out of you, or you're going to learn to defend. You're going to sharpen your sword. Your points are going to be, your sword's going to sharpen. That's all. You're just going to learn to defend it. You're going to learn your points. You're going to be able to defend. And then if you can do that there, when you walk off into the rest of the world,
it's easy.
It's easy. That's right. Because the hard part's there.
And so that's exactly what happened. And it's kind of like going to U of M, where a lot of your professors are going to be liberal.
Sure.
And a lot of your classmates are going to be liberal. And so I ended up making some great relationships with some of the professors there.
Sure.
Because I was always approaching things from a different perspective. I was always challenging their ideas, challenging their beliefs. Whereas the kid who just says, oh yeah, I pretty much agree with what you say. If you're a true intellectual, that's not that interesting. Agreement's not that interesting.
Agreed.
Points of departure are much more interesting. And so that led to more depth because we were not coming from the same place or ending up in the same place. And so they wanted to know how I got there, how I came to believe what I believe. And it created a lot more interest than if I'd just been in their amen corner.
Amen corner. I love that. All right. So what do we got over here? Okay. Mark Ashley Price thinks you're awesome. Karen's checking in here, thanking you for being here.
Thank you, Karen, for being here.
Are you guys from Wayne County? Originally, yes. I grew up in Detroit. I was born in Detroit. I spent 3 years there and went to Westland until I moved to Howell. So, yeah, I spent 14 years in Wayne County. So there you are, Mark. We're brothers, or brother and sister. So Then Joe is explaining his comment about being vague. Why are we talking about whose vision is who and who's running the state? We're always talking theoretical vagaries. Is that a word? Vagaries? During these discussions in right-wing spaces, we shouldn't be afraid to talk about. Well,
Joe, we just started.
Joe, give me a break here.
We're just started.
Launching here, you know.
We're just saying hello to we met each other 10 minutes ago, Joe. Give us a break, Joe.
Hey, hang in there, Joe. First of all, Joe, if you knew me, you'd never have said that. I don't know if the word vague fits in my vocabulary, but I do know patience, and I do give people time to get their feet under them. Joe is letting us know he's not in Wayne County. Kelly Powell, welcome.
Hey, Kelly Powell, we follow each other on X. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
There you go. Joe loves to learn thoughts on the daily over here. Okay, good. Well, let's continue learning from each other today. All right, so tell me about what happened. So let's walk us through 10 years at the Detroit News to your own podcast. What started that? What gave you the idea? And what's your mission on your podcast?
Yeah, so after the 10 years at the News, ended up getting hired at the Mackinac Center. They needed an editor for their publication, Michigan Capital Confidential.
Yep.
And great opportunity. And so that was great while it lasted. But ultimately, in 2024, I started a project I was much more excited about called The Michigan Enjoyer.
Okay.
And so I was a podcaster, and to this day, I'm still a columnist. I do my own podcast in-house these days. It's not with The Enjoyer anymore. But it was the idea, the thesis behind The Enjoyer was that truth in Michigan, truth is a blue lake on an August day.
Okay.
With no one else out there.
All right.
And so the mainstream media had gone so far in the direction of abandoning true stories in favor of what they wish were true, and in favor of their interpretation of events. I always say, journalists hold two tools in their hands, and you know this, you were in the media.
Mm-hmm.
You have credibility, but you also have the ability to influence events.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've seen in the Trump era is the media toss aside credibility in favor of the ability to influence events.
Or the attempt to, yes.
The attempt to, and what they don't realize is that without credibility, you lose the ability to influence what's happening.
Well, and on top of that, they adopted, along with, I think, a lot of the Democrats, they adopted the notion that the end justifies the means.
Yes.
And they applied that not only to their accusations and their mud throwing, but they also applied it to the idea of elections, where it's okay to do what you got to do to keep your candidate in because the end justifies the means. How's that, Joe? Is that vague? Is that direct enough for you? So it is absolutely a horrific practice. It's one that turns my stomach. And so it took all media and put them in a place of less trust, of disrespect, of
it's at the point now
all
where
kinds of things.
If Donald Trump told everybody, if he hopped on right now at 8 p.m. this evening and told all of America to take 3 deep breaths, a lot of Democrats would stop breathing and they would hold their breath until they died.
I saw one today. I told my husband I thought I was going to die. It's a little crude, sorry, but it makes the point. It said, if Donald Trump told everybody that eating crap was bad, that every Democrat in the planet would have a turd kebab.
That's exactly it.
It was. I mean, it's horrible, but it is absolutely funny. Anyway, so.
And so that's exactly it. And when you're in journalism, truth, what actually happened is supposed to be your lodestar, right? That's supposed to be what you gravitate toward. And what we've seen instead is that anything Trump likes is bad, and anything that they believe hurts Trump is good.
Yes.
And so part of what I try to do with the podcast, the James Dixon podcast, part of what I do when we talk about make news or make politics local again, that was my first slogan, is make news local again. And to me, in 2024 and 2025, we did that. Creating, these media personalities. If you look at the timeline of an Anna Hoffman, she was on Please on X. She's very active on social media. If you look at Anna Hoffman, this is a woman who was not a journalist. who became one because the Michigan Enjoyer structured these opportunities to tell the truth. You look at a Jay Murray in Livonia. If you looked at any time in the past 25 years, the stories you're going to read out of Livonia are going to typically be about, oh, it's such a white city, even at this late date, and the white cops in that city pull over so many black people, how racist must they be, right? And Jay Murray has turned Livonia away from a town where no news happens. You think that it's all just people getting along, into something where it's one of the hottest news towns in Michigan, because he's uncovered a lot of these storylines that wouldn't make it to the paper because he has this granular understanding of his community. And so the thesis of Make News Local Again is that if you simply tell true stories, which the media has abandoned, people will embrace you. The thesis of Make Politics Local Again especially applies to the 2026 election. And so if you read mainstream media, they're going to tell you that November 2026 is a midterm election, which implies that all of life and all of politics revolves around Donald Trump.
Right.
Instead, this isn't a midterm. It really clicked for me when I talked to college kids. This is a final exam.
For Michigan, it is.
That's exactly it.
That's right.
If Democrats, so in a state that always reelects incumbents, if we were to have 2 Democrat governors in a row, that would mean 16 years of Democrat governance. Were that to happen, you and I both know there wouldn't be a year 17.
No.
Because there wouldn't be any Michigan left. And so for us, this is not a midterm election. This is literally our final exam. This is, will you choose reason and sanity to run your state and to bring it back to normal places? We're going to talk about the damn roads. We're going to talk about the damn schools.
Right.
We're going to talk about your damn energy bill.
Yep.
And who made all those things so much worse over the last 8 years. And so were we to go into the question, the eternal question of politics, are you better off than you were 8 years ago? Of course we're not. And so if we talk about who made it that way and who ran Michigan and who ultimately ran Michigan into a ditch, then you have a chance of having success. If you're talking about the war in Iran and Venezuela and ICE in Minnesota, the national media is never going to help you, and that's going to lead to a loss. So I'm trying to refine the way we think and the way we talk about politics in Michigan as Republicans.
Well, you're doing a good job. I'm listening to you and paying attention. I got to go back up here now. Let's see. Joe Gurley says he watches. Oh, Kelly says you're her ex-buddy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Joe says he watches this program religiously. It's something that's been on his mind. He felt compelled to share. Well, thank you for sharing, Joe. Not sure I agree with you. I don't think I'm vague at all. Let's see.
He's saying you have a pattern and practice of being vague, and I find that hard to believe.
Yes, I know. You don't need to know me 3 seconds before you know
right.
That doesn't happen. Karen loves the Enjoyer, so just so you know. And Kelly says, oh, by the way, and go blue. We're just going to skip right over that nonsense. All right.
Oh, no. I fear that Deb has gotten mixed up with the wrong people at some point in her life.
Go green. All right. So that's still pretty vague. I'm sure what you're talking about. I don't know how you could be vague about me. Trump came to Howell, so I guess that's local. I get it. Yep.
And so even that, right?
Yep.
When Trump came to Howell, they tried to make it seem like there's certain geographies in America that you cannot visit, that the president cannot visit without himself being a racist.
Oh, did you hear his response when he was here, when they said that to him?
What did he say?
He walked by and they said, you're here, you're a racist, whatever. And he said,
who was here before me?
2020, Joe Biden. That's right.
Right. And so,
awesome.
I mean, if you look at the history, there's been racism in New York City. There's been racism in Boston. Were we to play out that string, that's something that literally applies to everything.
Yep.
Which, as you learn as a college freshman, if you're highlighting everything on a page, you're highlighting nothing.
Right.
So if every place is irredeemably racist because something racist has ever happened there, then that means there's no place you can go.
Yeah.
And which is what they mean when it applies to Donald Trump. What they actually do mean is that Donald Trump should not be allowed to participate in politics. And so anywhere he goes, he's doing it for the worst reason possible. He comes to Howell because Howell is allegedly racist.
Right.
And so these are the things we have to fight back against, because we cannot count on the media to tell true and honest stories anymore.
No.
So at this point, we are the media.
Well, that's why you started. That's why I started. I started this podcast because the idea came from our party secretary, Angela Yarber. She said, I would love to see you do a podcast. And the idea at that time was, so we have a place to get out Livingston County Republican Party news. Okay, I thought that sounded great.
Right.
But then I watched the media skewer the county commissioners for something they didn't do. And I knew they didn't do it because I was at the meeting where what they accused, happened. And I knew that wasn't correct. So I said, you know what? I'm going to use this podcast to offer an opportunity to give the side that the media will not show you, because they will not make the correction, or they'll put the, truth buried down there in page, 612. So there it is. That's how it is. So it's real easy to hear if there's a misrepresentation in the media, they're here the next week and they're here explaining. This is what really happened. So this is the right side. So we have Lisa Elizabeth. Glad you finally connected us with James. Lisa is Patriot GMA from X.
Well, hey, nice to meet you, Lisa. And thank you so much for coming out. What I find fascinating about this, whether it's a speech or a live podcast like this, is people have things to do. Right? People have busy lives.
Yep.
And so anytime you would come out in the 7 o'clock hour, that's time you'd be with your family,
sure,
working on the next day, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
That's a blessing, because you have other things to do. But the reason you're here right now, and the reason you come to these meetings, is that you believe there is a benefit to be had in showing up in life,
mm-hmm,
and speaking up in life. There's a reason
yep,
you're in the comments right now. And so what we're trying to do is direct all that energy toward actual wins, right? Toward actual success. And so we're not just going to talk about politics. In 2026, we have a chance to change our state and save our state.
We do. All right, hold on to that thought. We're going to go to a commercial, and then we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Okay, and we're back. So that was a good way to end, or for just a second to take a break. Let's go back to these commercials. Let's go back to the comments. Let's see. Joe says, but Howell has a lot local history, and while we are very proud of our history, some people use Trump's visit here to recruit for their own organizations. Might be a little on the nose when it comes to Howell's. Why is that? What do you mean on the nose? I don't get you. This is not a. There's no validity to that statement.
Right.
They call it a war. It was an excursion. Oh, they're talking about Iran. Okay, so anyway, so tell me what your topics, like when you have your podcast. Tell me the kind of stuff that you would discuss on there.
So I just did one.
Okay.
About how it dropped today. About how the loss in 2022 was actually a blessing in disguise. And so what you had going into 2022, you had Republicans that controlled the legislature in Michigan for 40 years.
Yep.
Right? For 4 decades.
Yep.
And so with governors like Jennifer Granholm, who's a Democrat, Jim Blanchard, who was a Democrat, or Gretchen Whitmer, who was a Democrat, there was a comfort level. There was a comfort level with the power sharing arrangement back then. A little known fact, Governor Gretchen Whitmer's first term in office, she signed 1,000 laws, despite there being a Republican House and a Republican Senate in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Schoolhouse Rock told me about checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that with a different party controlling the House and the Senate, that there'd be a lot less lawmaking that would happen. And so when you read the Detroit newspapers or you read any of the news out of Lansing, you read all these stories about palace intrigue and who said what and who said what about who, but it was all talk. But if you look at the actual numbers and the actual public acts tables, what you saw is that they got along extraordinarily well together. And so now we have this conversation about civility in politics, which I feel is inappropriate. Because what we see, if anything, our ruling class gets along too well together. And so what we saw in 2022 is the Republicans who controlled the House and the Senate. Whitmer ended up winning that election by such a margin that she overtook the House and the Senate. And so what that created is a new type of Republican who doesn't believe that it's their job to be conciliatory and to meet in middles and get Governor Gretchen Whitmer's agenda across the goal line. They believe it's their job to fight for their actual constituents, which Republicans had forgotten to do. And so what we see in what I call fake red states like Utah or Oklahoma, you see Republicans who are fumbling the bag even as we speak. The governor of Oklahoma was just saying how, I don't think Democrats are importing all these illegals just to vote. Well, why the heck are they doing it, right? They're either doing it to ruin America or to create new voters who would vote Democrat, and then America would be ruined. It's two approaches to the same endpoint, right? And so when you do not understand and you do not treat politics as, to me, politics is a really simple business. Politics is about gaining and using power to make your constituents' lives better and to make your enemy's life worse. Joe Biden was very good at that. He made our lives a lot worse when he had power, and he did a lot for his friends. But when Republicans get power, they tend to not use it. And so even after these Republicans had lost in 2022 and lost this historic power that they had for 4 decades, what did they do on the way out? They gave Governor Gretchen Whitmer a train set, $85 million over 17 years to fund the Q Line train in downtown Detroit. And so that's why you lose power. When Republicans act like Democrats, Michigan said we might as well have actual Democrats run the place.
You think that's why we lost the 2022?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, well,
weak Republicans make hard times.
It had nothing to do with, say, I don't know, Prop 3.
Well, it's all of the above.
I would say it's 90% of the above.
So think about the 2022 ballot, right?
Yeah, I will. Mm-hmm.
You had statewide incumbent Gretchen Whitmer, Dana Nessel, and Jocelyn Benson. Then you had 3 ballot initiatives that were all designed to drive Democrat turnout.
Yes.
More people actually voted for abortion than voted in the Attorney General's race.
Then you just made my point.
Which is to say that killing babies is more popular than Dana Nessel.
That's right.
Which is to say there were 6 reasons for every Democrat to show up and vote that year.
Agreed.
There was only 1 reason for a Republican to show up and vote.
That's right. And that has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans being lazy or being bad. It had to do with we got outsmarted on the strategy. But that is not a bad legislator.
But it was also a bad legislature. When you are making that many laws with Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Okay.
Right? Like
let me.
All
right, I've been listening now, so I'm gonna throw you some.
Please do.
I'm gonna throw you some questions here.
Please do.
So, if, for example, you got 2 years with a Democrat, you've been elected. You're a Republican legislator. You've got 2 years with a minimum 2 years with a Republican governor. Oh, no, you're going to have 4 years, right? Because she's going to be there 4 years. So you get elected when Gretchen gets elected. So you got 4 years with a Democrat governor. Okay? No, there's going to be no sweeps. It's going to be whatever. Right. Are you going to choose? You have 2 choices. are you going to choose to do nothing, to give no legislation whatsoever to your constituents?
Mhm.
Or are you going to do legislation that partially gives help to your constituents?
I think the government that governs best is the government that governs least.
Now see here, Joe, he's being vague. Did you see that?
For a true conservative,
True
2025
conservative,
was a great year. We had only 74 laws signed in 2025. So that's when, after the failures of 2022, Republicans rallied. They win 2024, except it's only the House that's up for election that year. And so the Michigan House ends up being the only legislative body in America that flips. And so that becomes Republican. And so what we end up having is a divided government, which we still do have right now.
You're talking about what's going to flip the government, which I get, and I'm in 100% agreement with you there. Okay, I'm still looking for the direct answer to the question. You're a new legislator. You got elected with Gretchen Whitmer in 2024.
Right.
For you to serve for 4 years, you are going to have a Democrat governor.
Right.
Are you going to do no laws whatsoever because your laws will be vetoed, or are you going to do some laws that have some sort of compromise in them or watered down version, but you at least help your constituents somewhat?
I mean, Governor Whitmer did plenty of vetoes.
She did,
but she signed 1,000 laws, and vetoed a lot of stuff, which tells me that what she vetoed was Republican, and what she signed was things that she found agreeable. And
you're still.
I would rather do nothing. I'd rather have a year like 2025.
You'd rather have nothing in your.
Yes.
So you've been elected and you do nothing to help your constituents whatsoever.
Because your job at that point is to stop the bleeding.
But okay, so let's discuss minority.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So you are there, and you are in the minority in the House. Okay, and you're a representative.
But you're not the minority.
You are.
You're the majority.
No, you're in 2022. You were not.
Yes.
You were not.
In 2023, you lost.
20. Oh, I'm sorry. Which of the 2 years? It was
23 and 24.
Right, but it was 22 you got elected. So yes, 23 and 24.
Right.
So you start 23 and 24. You start those. You got 4 years with Whitmer. There's nothing you can do about it. Are you going to do nothing for those 4 years? Not one law? You're in the minority for those first 2 years.
We had 74 laws in 2025. So they did pass some amount of laws.
But you're telling me that
it was only the absolute basic stuff.
But you're telling me that the ones that passed laws somehow were weak because they worked with Whitmer?
I wouldn't say that of the current group, because that's why there's so little lawmaking. So we're going from a year with 74 laws passed versus an average of 250 in Whitmer's first term. So you can't have that much law being made with Whitmer being the governor.
No.
Laws.
You're not down there. You don't understand the makeup there. In Whitmer's first 4 years, she had a Republican House and a Republican Senate.
That's what I'm saying.
She was the one who had to give in. Okay, but when
she did not give in,
she did, because she signed laws. She did not let us sign.
How did Michigan move conservative in those years?
They did. They moved as conservative as you can.
How?
You have a different makeup when you're not in the majority. In 2000, for 4 years, 8 years in Snyder, we had complete control. We had 8 full years.
And look how little resulted from
I
that.
would disagree how little. I was there during those 8 years, and
so
I
we got
saw
right to
what
work.
happened.
Right to work, awesome.
You didn't see it, and that's all you saw?
And what did the Democrats do immediately?
We knew that. We know that. Right. But the point is, those 8 years where we had all 3 Republican houses.
Now imagine what Democrats would have done with that same amount of power.
They did. 24 and 25. That's what they had.
I'm talking about for 8 years.
Well, they had it for 2 years. And
look what they did.
I know.
By the end, they couldn't even agree with each other. They couldn't even get along with each other. So it's only by the grace of God.
Lost, or am I?
It's only by the grace of God, but that the Democrats did not do more damage to Michigan.
You're right.
But it is absolutely weak Republicans, because here's the situation voters were left with. If Republicans aren't going to do Republican stuff, I'm not going to show up. So that's what happened.
Tell me what those 4 tell me what you do in the minority in 3 and 24. You are in the minority everywhere. You have no voice, you have no power. Tell me exactly how those Republicans somehow didn't do something.
You're switching my argument. It's not about what happened in 23 and 24 because obviously when you have the minority, you can't do anything.
There you go.
It's what you do when you have the majority in those 4 years of Whitmer's first term.
They don't have the majority. Whitmer blocked the majority.
From 2019 to 2022, the Republicans controlled the entire legislature.
But they didn't control the governor.
No. They just controlled 2/3 of the power.
That's not enough. Governor goes,
it's
boom.
plenty enough.
It is not. The governor vetoes it and it's done.
Then there should be fewer laws. I can live with that. I can live with fewer laws being made. I don't need there to be a bunch. I can't name 10 things I need Lansing lawmakers to do for me. So what that tells me is you're doing too much and you're working with someone who, regardless of what they sign, it's probably not going to be for my benefit. So had those Republicans been of right mind, years would have looked a lot more like 2025. That's what it should have been. It should have been 4 years of 70, 60 laws being passed. That's all it should have been. It should have not been an average of 250 laws per year being signed. To what benefit? Can anyone tell me how our life improved by all these laws that were signed? No one can. No one's even trying to.
Can you tell me a law, how those laws made your life worse?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those were Republican laws.
And when you look at so a great example, right?
Okay.
So Republicans by this point had lost their majorities in both, right? They knew
in 23 and 24.
So this is between 20.
You're flipping back and forth.
I'm not. So this is 2022. Lame duck. You've just lost. You haven't lost power yet, but you're about to, right?
Right.
So you could have said the Democrats are just going to pass whatever they pass, and we'll let them do that. You know what the Republicans said? There shouldn't have been any lame duck lawmaking made with the Democrat governor. But you know what they did? They said, we're going to give Gretchen Whitmer $85 million for a train set in Detroit, the Q-Line train. $85 million over 17 years. We're going to allow that tax to pass. Yes.
That was done in lame duck.
It was. And so that's the kind of thing that when you make a habit of being conciliatory and meeting in middles and signing laws with a Democrat governor, people are just going to say, why not just let Democrats run the place? And so my thesis is that the reason 2025 was a different year is because the Republicans elected in 22, in 24, were a different type of Republican.
I think a lot of them were the same.
So let me ask you this.
A lot of them were the same Republicans.
So if I'm Gretchen Whitmer and I signed 1,000 laws with Republicans controlling all of the legislature, why then would I delay for 200 plus days the special election in Senate District 35? Why would I do that?
Oh, because you don't want to lose. You don't want to potentially tie majority.
But if I'm used to signing laws with Republicans, what would I fear about a Republican majority? Right?
because
and so here's the answer. The answer is because it's a different type of Republican now.
Oh my!
Because they're not looking to make deals with.
All right. Well, I guess you can keep your opinion. That is not at all what I experienced, and I would also tell you that many of the same legislators that are there now were there in 19. There's Luke Meerman's still there.
Some of them.
Paquette's still there. Oh no, lots of them.
Some of them, but certainly not the leadership. I mean, none of those. House Speaker, Senate Majority Leader, like those are different people now.
Well, the Senate Majority Leader is a whole different. There's a different.
But it's Democrats. A different person, right? Like it's not like the minority. It's not like the majority leader became the minority leader.
He did.
It's a different human being.
Well, he would have. I mean, Eric Nesbitt was voted in as the majority leader, except that they didn't keep majority, so he became the minority leader. So that's exactly
which is to say there was a different majority leader.
There was a different. There was a different
human being. It was a different human being.
It was from Republican to Democrat. Of course, it was different. It was a whole different spectrum. Like I said, I don't know. I know this. I worked there. I worked there for many years. I worked there in the House. I worked there through 3 different governors. I worked in the majority. I worked in the split, and I worked in the minority. I know what it's like working up there. I know whether or not I know many of the politicians. I can't say that they were my friends because they weren't. I was a staff, but I observed them in the behind closed doors. I observed them in those conversations. I observed when they kept their word. I observed when they didn't. I observed who did, who didn't. And I will tell you, what I saw was I saw representatives up there who made the choice because they could have said, well, I'm not doing anything because doing anything means I have to work with a Republican governor. And many of them said, you know what? I need this, and my constituents need X. They need this passed. They need this. So in order to do this, I got to water it down by saying, all right, another Democrat needs this. I can live with that. And they get something out of the deal. So that's what you get when you are in a split. You do not get all the marbles. The only time you get all the marbles is when you are in a full majority.
Yes.
Now, during the Snyder years, when we were in the full majority, we do have it at some. We do have, as Joe pointed out, we had some movie credits, which I still don't get. But you know what else we did?
Horrible policy.
It was a horrible policy. I agree, and I'm certainly not saying I agreed with everything Rick Snyder did. But I will tell you, I've never seen a governor pull us out of a hole like he did. The general people, that would mean including you, sir, and including Mr. Gurley up there, has no idea how bad the budget was when he walked in. They think they do. They do not. They have no clue how dire things were up there. How many pension funds had been robbed to make other things go. You have no clue at the depth of the $40 billion that was headed for the hole for MIPSers, for example. This is one example of many. And I saw Snyder absolutely work magic, fill in that hole to the point where not only did everything get righted, but we had a surplus when he left. Which
he normalized the budget process. I mean, I remember
it was the best 8 years
during the Granholm years. You would have thought that it was impossible.
Yes.
To pass a budget on time.
Sure, because they were going to wait at furloughs.
He made it look like a professional operation, and then you saw how things fell apart afterward.
Yes.
When Whitmer
got in there, she robbed that thing. She robbed that rainy day fund so fast.
And so would I rather have fewer laws have been passed to begin with than we get some, you get some? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I guess
because what do I need state government to do for me? I need it to not rob me.
I know, but this is the interesting thing here. You aren't the only constituent in this state. And there are constituents out there that need regulation fixes. There are constituents out there that need other laws fixed because they were interfering in business or in that. And I will tell you this, that the Republicans did not give up significant things. They gave up small things to help their constituents. And it was nothing that I couldn't live with. I mean, in order to I think we got the better gain because we had 2/3. But either way, you did not get what you want. Even though you had both legislatures, there's no way to get what you want because the governor can sit there and go, veto, veto, veto.
Yes.
So, and to have 2 years of absolutely nothing would just be the waste of space and money and
That's
time.
what we're having right now.
What?
2 years of nothing.
What do you mean we have 2 years of nothing?
I can live with that.
We have.
This is the government that governs least right here, right now.
I disagree. We got laws coming out there.
I say sign me up. Sign me up to sign as few laws as possible. You know, there's this whole movement in Lansing to talk about civility. We just had Engler, Snyder, Granholm even, come back to Lansing to talk about this. And I think the whole civility movement misses the mark because it's not rooted in truth. What we actually have is our government, the representatives, the governor, they get along too well. Our ruling class gets along too well, and they do too much, and they spend too much of our money. That's how our budget went from $58 billion in 2018 to something like $80 billion last year. Now she's trying to get $88 billion, Whitmer is. That's a product of too much civility.
You know your numbers are off there because we got a Republican. They knocked that they're not trying to. She can try to get what she wants.
Right, she's going for 88.
But she's not going to get it because the House is going to block that.
Because we have the government that governs least.
Interestingly enough,
so you can have power and you can use power,
and
they're
the
using power
same
now.
people on the appropriations team was on when you were talking about.
But they're not in charge. They weren't in charge. Matt Hall is a different House Speaker than what
Ann
Lee
Boleyn,
Chatfield,
and Matt Maddock were
Jason
both on
Whitworth.
that.
I mean, who are these people, right? You got one guy who's in legal trouble. I mean, so Matt Hall right now has shown there is a different type of way to do this. You can actually go in there and fight with the governor and say, I'm fine getting very little achieved if it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I have something in my personal relationships. I call it Rule 0.
Mm-hmm.
And Rule 0 simply equates to if it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work. Right? So
sure.
I'll compromise on things, but if I'm dead set against doing it, like going to a Christmas play, for instance,
okay,
then we're not going to do it.
Okay.
Because I'd rather not do it than do it and complain while I do it, right?
Right.
And so I see Matt Hall as a guy who's governing using Rule 0. He's saying if it doesn't work for me, it won't happen.
What kind of thing would you compromise on then? Give me an example of compromise that you would compromise, but it's not your thing.
Really depends.
Well, you just said I would need to hear.
I would need to hear something good. I mean, it would. I'm not.
Well, it's not a compromise if you like it. So what would be something you would compromise on? That's something. It's like a small thing, as you said.
Yeah. So maybe if we keep teacher standards and grade scores for schools, but maybe the foundation allowance for students goes up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. I'll let you have your on paper thing, but we're going to have standards with it, as opposed to no standards and more money.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's the kind of laws that were getting passed when Whitmer was there, but we had Republican, the other legislature, as you call it. That's the kind of stuff that was getting passed. It was all right, give up a little bit, we can live with that, but we need this. That's the kind of stuff. It wasn't 100% because, frankly, we'd like lower, and this.
Yes.
But you compromise where you can without compromising your principles.
You do.
And I think that's what happened many, many times.
But you certainly do not sign over a train set and hand
I don't know
somebody
what
all
happened
this money.
there. I don't know what happened there.
And so it's just
but
embarrassing.
I can't comment on that because you know why? And you better believe I'm going to dig into it now because I'm going to find out what it is. But
Look up this guy Wayne Schmidt in Traverse City. Wayne,
if
you're watching this,
I know who.
How you doing, Wayne?
Yep.
You said that, hey, if we give this train set to Detroit, maybe they'll do something nice for Traverse City someday. How's that going, Wayne?
I have to believe that there's more to it than that, but let me look.
I'd love to hear that there's more to it.
I would think that and I don't know this, but a option could be that knowing they have the majority in exactly 6 weeks, right? They come back from because it's always the legislature is always closed during hunting season, so they come back after hunting season. It's national, and it's a holiday in Michigan. So so just come December 1, and they're back in session. They know they've got about 2 to 3 weeks until a sine die till they close down, and then they start the new term in January. Come January, Whitmer's going to get every possible thing she wants, including that train.
Right.
Could it be that someone thought, all right, let's give her the train now. She's going to get it anyway. At least we'll get this out of it.
Could be, but how? What did you get?
I don't know. That is what I have to look into.
Wayne, if you're watching this, tell me what you got. Tell me what you got out of this arrangement. I would love to hear it.
I'm going to go dig.
And I see Mark Ashley Price. Oh, you sound like the extreme limited government. Yes, Mark. Because I do not believe that government officials are the best deciders of what to do with my money. So yeah, you got me dead to rights. I do not believe that bureaucrats or lawmakers are the best decision makers for what to do with my money. So yes, absolutely. I want the government that governs least. I would rather more decisions be made at the local level, because from what I can see, the people we send to Lansing aren't worth a darn.
Yeah, I'm okay. Well, and I what is this? Matt Paddock? Oh, please. All right, never mind. Joe, you're a troublemaker. All right, Mr. Dickerson. Okay, so you've read that. We
and it's Dixon, Mark.
Yes, you have
it's
said
Dixon.
It's Dixon. Yes, please change that.
Please.
So it is
some respect.
You know, there's nothing wrong with people who want limited government. What I have a hesitation in blanket blame. That's where I'm always going to be set off a little bit, is the blanket blame. Well, if this happened, it's because all these guys did this or all these guys did that. Having been there and having worked through all that stuff with 3 different governors and all 3 of those different situations, I understand the behind the scenes stuff that went on, and it is not all anybody that did anything. It is, like I said, it's the same way you said you'd compromise there a minute ago. That's how many legislators compromise. They gave a little bit, they got what they needed. And Whitmer had to compromise as well by passing these laws in order to get some of her stuff done. She got a big bunch of nothing. When that happened, because like Senator Shirkey pulled one on. I know there's a lot of controversy about him and whether he was a good Republican or not. I don't care. I know what he did. It doesn't mean everything he did was wrong. And I will tell you that one year, she would not. She refused to go to the table unless X happened, right? Unless X. So Shirkey wasn't going to do X, and neither was whoever the speaker was. I don't remember the speaker at the time. And neither one were going to do it. I suspect it was Jason, you said him a minute ago. Wentworth. But whoever it was, Shirkey was absolutely, and he and whoever the speaker was kept coming to the table. She refused. So they said, fine, you don't show up. Here's our budgets there. We're not coming to the table anymore. And then she tried to get, and nope, they weren't doing it. They sent their budgets, and that was it. So he basically called her bluff, and it made her come to him to get what she wanted, and she didn't get it. So it is just not what it seems. I mean, so in many cases, so there were some hardballs there with her.
And I understand that, but I say that to say this. This is good news. Because this means we've come a long way. It means that the situation from 2022, if you watched what happened when Republicans had all the power last time, when we were closer to a fake red state than a real red state, this isn't that anymore.
I don't ever remember us being a red state.
We've changed from that. Things have improved. Things have changed. More Republicans are showing up in Lansing wanting to fight.
That's true.
So this is not your older brother's Republican Party. If you remember a certain narrative about 2022 and all the dealings they had with Whitmer, this is a different crop, a different mentality that we're sending right now. So if the betrayals of the past bother you, that's good news because we're in a different situation now. So don't let that be your excuse to not vote. Understand, listen to the people who are running for office in your community, see what they're trying to do, see how they would handle a Democrat governor, see what they would do if they got their wish list with a Republican governor, but don't get stuck in 2022 because we've come a long way since then.
Right. Well, I also think that, I agree with you that 2020, the elections of 2022 or the years of 23 and 24.
Right.
I also agree that they really did us. They did us. I mean, there was some benefit to that simply because they taught us that we are not invincible. I don't think it was a failure on any Republican candidate or any Republican policy that those 2 years occurred. That election year was a combination, was a mastermind or extremely lucky. I'll let everybody make their own decision up. A mastermind, is my opinion, of a strategy of the Democrats in doing 2 things. First of all, they had those props, but Prop 3 was the killer. I knocked approximately 1,100 houses that year, and every single one of them said something to me about Republicans and abortion. I usually vote a Republican. I can't this year because they're outlawing abortion. I would spend 40 minutes on a door explaining why that wasn't true. Didn't matter. So there was that, and the other 2 that were probably lesser, but the big thing was that in combination with redistricting.
Yeah.
And they redistricted to make it much more Dem friendly. So you put those two combinations
And
together.
the advantages of incumbency in a state that always reelects incumbents. What I need people to understand
there
is
were no incumbents in a new district.
We never had a chance in 2022.
No.
People
none.
think, oh, if James Craig had made the ballot, if
no.
John Engler would have lost in 2022.
I know.
And so
I know.
if we give ourselves grace for what happened then we can see the opportunity we have now when there's not a single incumbent running and there's 4 statewide seats. So if we have our minds right, this is an opportunity like we've never seen in 2026. And that's what we should do. That's what we should focus on is like, ultimately, in 2027, Michigan's going to reflect someone's vision. Will it be our vision?
Yes. I know what you're saying, but here's where I think that statement not opens up anything, because it's not wrong, it's incorrect, but it's hard to answer because our isn't a unified thing. I cringe when I hear the words true Republican or true patriot. I roll my eyes, because Republicans really embody 3 things: less government, more personal space, less taxes, smaller government, that sort of thing. That is what makes a Republican, whether or not they this or that. That starts to get into the weeds, and that starts when you let the weeds define true Republicans. That's where I start to get lost. I support Republicans 100%. I spend a godly amount of time every single week trying to get Republicans elected. Mm-hmm. You have no idea. But I know this. A true Republican or the right Republican has to be elected by the numbers there. And this is where people get lost. They don't understand the math of the area. Now, your idea of what a true Republican is, or what I suspect is your idea of a true Republican in Livingston County, will get elected like that, or at least especially in the state reps. We have serious red county, right?
Right.
Serious red county. In our county, you can get somebody extremely far right, and we're going to love them. You go to Ingham County, you will not get that. You go to, so our congressman can be a straight guy, but he can be a Republican, but you try to elect somebody far right, you don't have the numbers, because you got Ingham County and Oakland County and part of Washtenaw County voting there. So, or Eaton County, you can't do it. You got to get somebody. Our guy is just amazing. He's seriously Republican, but I would not call him a far right guy. He's very conservative. He does what he needs to do, and he gets elected. In Jackson County, not so easy. Not so easy, because you can't get somebody there that's gonna, pound, or we've got a guy here on the 48th district, and his district is the northern part of Livingston County, red, southern part of Washtenaw County, blue, and then a little bit of Jackson County, right? So he goes to that door and he starts pounding the pavement and starts knocking doors and starts talking about 2A and abortion and save the babies and girls and boys bathrooms. He hasn't got a prayer. So he's got to really be what you would call a moderate guy just to get in the door. And this is what I tell people that have that far right, that far right theory that must be. This is what I right here, and it's right here. This is the most important slide there is. The very first vote that any candidate makes, whether they're the right kind of Republican, like you say, or not the right candidate, the very first one they make is for the Senate Majority Leader in the Senate. And in the House, it's the Speaker. Mm-hmm. The Speaker and the Majority Leader completely has full control and sets that agenda.
Oh, yeah.
100%. So you can, when I hear people say things like, oh, it doesn't matter, we might as well get a Dem. No, because a Dem is going to vote for the Dem Senate Majority Leader.
Right.
And the Republican is going to vote for no matter how middle of the road your Republican is, he's still going to vote for, your Senate Majority Leader the right side. These people here that didn't come to the table, this is what happened in 2023, or this started in 2023, is because those people didn't come to the table because we lost. And so we got a blue Senate Majority Leader, right? Over in the House, now we have red. We have a red speaker, because it doesn't matter how middle of the road your state rep is, he still voted for the red speaker. So don't ever think or ever say that you might as well just vote for a Dem, because what difference does it make?
Yeah, I hope we learned from 2022 that it actually does matter who runs Michigan.
The speaker matters. The Senate Majority Leader matters. So when you talk about not going or not, it doesn't matter. It does, because they're the ones who set the Lansing thing, the right Senate Majority Leader and the right speaker. After that, they're the ones working together to get things done, unless one's Dem and one's Republican, like it is now, which has been the first time in 40 freaking years. So anyway, so let's see. Mark Ashley Price says, after watching 1 hour of Mr. Dixon, I must say that even though I don't agree with him 100%, I do have mad respect for him about the extreme limited government. We do. We all, even if on this podcast,
it's a mutual respect environment.
It is. We it's okay to disagree. It's okay. That's what Republicans do. We do not have groupthink.
No.
And it's like I was saying earlier, when you are in a situation where you disagree, you sharpen your sword. You get to disagree respectfully, but you also hone your arguments. I've learned a lot about what you thought. It's different than the way I think, and that's just fine with me. It's because somewhere in the middle of what you are saying and I'm saying is a whole bunch of people,
right.
And they're listening to you and they're listening to me, and that's okay. It broadens.
It's okay. Take a piece of him, take a piece of her. That's exactly it.
That's exactly it. But either way, we're all Republicans, right? And what are your thoughts about and this I'm afraid to ask, I'm afraid to open up a can of worms. What are your thoughts about when you say things like the wrong Republicans? What are your thoughts about if your candidate, if your super duper patriot candidate isn't the one the primary? What do you do with that other guy? You support him or no?
You support whatever Republican wins.
Oh, bless you. Okay, I can still
look.
It's
like the Democrats.
Oh no, there's so many out there. There's so many out there, James, that are their whole mantra is, if it's not a patriot, if it's not a far right guy, oh my God, I want to shoot people.
And this is what Democrats understand. Mm-hmm. But here's also the difference. So Democrats would elect a guy like Senator John Fetterman, U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Even though the guy couldn't barely speak at the time he was elected, why do they elect him? They elect him because they know they could elect a robot who would do what they want done. Mm-hmm. Republican voters cannot operate with that same certainty, and that's our problem. That's a problem that we have as a tribe, is that you might elect that Republican, and then they start, I'm going to operate out of principle, or I want my colleagues in the legislature to like me, and so they're not going to do what their constituents want. Democrats, John Fetterman, for as independent as he talks, he votes with the Democrats. He votes as the Democrats would have him vote. And so if Republicans don't do that, you're going to have less support. Mm-hmm. And so that's a form of betrayal, is when so when I go on my tour, I'm touring Michigan to spread this message, make politics local again. It's a two-way influence operation. I thought that my mission was to get voters to support the Republicans. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's part of what I do, is try to get Republicans to show up to vote. But the second part I've learned is I have to get Republican politicians to show up for their voters.
Okay.
That, if you don't have both, eventually the voters stop showing up.
Okay. No, I can agree with you there. They have to. I tag on to their best of their ability, depending on the situation they're in. If they're in the minority, they're lucky if they get anything. If they're in a split, they get half of what they want, and if they're in full majority, all the way to the wall, and that's what I think people have to understand, is that you can't expect all the way to the wall when you're in the minority, and too many people do. So, by the way, Joe Gurley, I know who you are now. You're that same person that comes on under a different name because I keep blocking you, so I'm just ignoring you. You're just being argumentative. So yes, I have people like that come on. Believe it or not, just do you have people? Do you when you do? Oh, you do recorded, don't you?
I do record it, but we also do live spaces on.
Do you
X.
take questions?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Do you get this kind of nonsense? You get somebody that shows up just to fight?
Well, they have to use their physical voice. So if you like, there's no way to hide because ultimately we'd be like, oh, it's that guy again, right?
Yeah, I got this. This is the same person that does all kinds of stuff. So, all right. Well, different names. So anyway, well, I find what you say fascinating, and I appreciate where you came from and how you got to your opinions. Like I said, most of them you're in agreement. We have a little bit of a different opinion as it comes to about. Like I said, the details of whether or not we would do nothing or whether we would do something just to get something done. And I guess the only way to determine that is to find out to be more specific about what laws passed that shouldn't have passed. The train set, you better believe I'm going to end up emailing you and telling you what the train set situation was.
Please do.
I will, because I mean, honest to God, I cannot believe that happened. I mean, I believe you. Don't give me. I'm not doubting you. I just am shocked. So there had to be a situation where there had to be a situation was like, all right, she's getting it anyway. Come 6 weeks from now, might as well give it to her now and then at least get X, whatever X is. So that's that. Having been in on those conversations, that tends to be the way things go over there. But God knows, I don't know, and I don't know. I believe he was a senator. Wayne Schmidt was.
He was.
Yeah. So I don't know that. I don't know. So I don't know how that works. So anyway, I don't know him well enough to be able to say, a lot of them I would be able to say, but not him. So, but I am going to look that up. I'm going to find out somebody in that Senate at that time to tell me, all right, speak up, spill it. What's going on? Eric Nesbitt's going to be here next week.
Oh, very cool.
I'm going to ask him. He's going to be here. We're going to have a meet and greet. He was on the podcast earlier. And
awesome.
We have meet and greets here for the candidates that are on the podcast. And we've had both attorney generals here. We've had all three secretary of states. We've had Tom Leonard. We've had Mike Cox. And so this one will be as far as meet and greet. So now we're going to have his. So we're going to have him and Lena Epstein from the state U of M Regents.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have Andy Anuzis, who's going for Wayne State Board of Governors. So,
it's going to be a packed house.
Yes. And did you hear Judge Michael Warren is jumped into the race for State Supreme Court?
Needed.
Man, I'm so excited. He is so likable.
Absolutely.
And
he could win.
Yes, he could. He's very likable, and he's very his name's well known, and he's very well involved. And it's interesting, too, because he's going to be at our Lincoln Day dinner, which is on May 5th, just to remind everybody. And we're celebrating America's 250th birthday. And prior to him agreeing or him becoming a candidate, he agreed to come and bring he's got a new book, and it's the definitive works. It's basically a line-by-line analysis of the Declaration of Independence on the 250th birthday. How much better could you get? So he's going to come in his patriot garb, and have you ever seen him in his patriot garb? Shows up looking like a Minuteman.
I've seen some parties he's been throwing recently.
Yeah. So he shows up, and he usually lots of times he brings a guy that looks just like Frederick Douglass. Anyway, but he's going to be there signing his books, and then he became a candidate, so we're going to have him speak. So anyway, it's we're excited about that on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So. And we're gonna have the best Mexican buffet ever. So all those out there, oh yes, we do good Mexican food here. So anyway, so we're gonna be doing that. But so anything? What are your thoughts on the upcoming gubernatorial race? This is a different one because we've got our lovely independent candidate thrown into the mix. How do you think that affects it?
History says we trade the governor's office every 8 years when someone's term expires.
Sure.
And so history says this should be a good year for Republicans.
Unless,
and that would be,
we shoot ourselves in the foot.
Right, that would be even on a normal election, but this time we have an added benefit where you have two Democrats who are going to be on the November ballot.
Yeah.
Mike Duggan, who's running as an independent, he's still a Democrat.
Agreed.
And Jocelyn Benson. And so history says that when there's a 2-on-1 race, you want to be on the side of the one.
Yeah.
Because the others are going to split their votes.
Yep.
And so that's how Republicans lost in 1912. That's how they lost in 1992. And so to be on the right side of a 2-1 split is incredible.
Sure.
And the only way Republicans could miss this opportunity is if they failed to unify.
Yes.
And so we need to have an understanding that whoever emerges from the primary is the guy.
Yep.
And however that happens, that like we have a primary process, you will have a chance to vote for whoever you like. But when it comes to the general election, I call this the Hoffman rule. My friend Anna Hoffman made this rule. Vote for who you like in the primary, but vote against the communist in the general election. And if we do that, we'll show up. We cannot have a repeat of 2022 where people say, oh, my guy didn't win, so I'm just not going to show up.
That's what I'm
That's
hearing.
not good
and
enough.
That's why I asked you
That's
that
not
earlier.
good enough.
No, that's what I asked
No.
you earlier. I'm hearing a lot of that, and I just want to thump people upside the head when I hear that.
It can't happen.
If it does, and this is what I've said all along. I mean, if you look at the Republicans, or I'm sorry, the Democrats and their rhetoric and their babbling, and that's what they're doing. They're unorganized, and I've never seen them this unorganized. They're unorganized. They're nonsense. Their rhetoric. They're still sticking to the stuff that made them lose, which is fine with me. So unless we shoot ourselves in the foot, we are going to win. All we got to do is stay above water. We just need to tread water, and we're going to win.
It.
But we've got some serious bombs out there that could make it worse. I've talked about it on the show. It's the one situation I'll talk about, not because I'm not talking about the person, but I'm talking about the situation. You got an attorney general candidate with a domestic violence police report on his route. And Kevin Kajewski is extremely likable guy, and I've had him on the podcast.
Great
and
guy.
I threw him here. I
Great
threw him
lawyer.
I threw him a meet and greet here, and he was likable. But as soon as that came out, boom. To me, that ends it. That we're suddenly now unelectable, because I will tell you what Karen McDonald's going to do if he becomes the candidate. All of a sudden, we have billboards, and every billboard and every lit and every newspaper and every radio ad and every Facebook ad is going to have a picture of his face superimposed on a guy in a white beater T-shirt with a beer and a woman behind him sitting there with a black eye saying, "This is the Republicans' attorney general candidate, people." And so that's what's I didn't kick you under the table because you did anything wrong. I kicked you on the table by accident that time. I saw you kind of freeze. No, that was accident. My bad. Anyway, but that to me is the kind of thing that we could do that could shoot ourselves in the foot. So, generally speaking, I like most of the Republican candidates for governor. I could easily live with, the Secretary of State candidates. I think they're, all conservative. We got people with more experience, less experience. Okay, fine. But no matter what happens after that convention, I would really be concerned with the Attorney General situation. But, Doug Lloyd is the guy, he's squeaky clean, and he's got 30 years of experience versus 5 years of experience with Kevin. Kevin's got 5 years as a lawyer. That's not, I hate that as a Attorney General candidate, but okay. I can still live with that. It's the DV that. Suddenly now every Republican in the state's gonna, or every Democrat in the state's gonna, and here's what's happening. Back to our little thing here. Where are we? Where's my little, right there. Ooh. All right, so here we go. This is the Livingston County voter demographics. We talked about early the far right. We could get right people get here. And this is a swing district voter demographic, more like Jackson, what we were talking about. So any decision there, or Brian Ignatowski, our 48th guy, he sits right there, and it's going to be any way he goes. It could, and this is what people, because we're a purple state, this is what people think Michigan demographics are. But the reality of it is, this is what we are. We've got some right, we got some left, and there's a whole big chunk. I think it was Detroit News today said there was they claimed 40% independent swing voters, and that is exactly what I believe. If you look at those numbers, and I made this up over a year ago, that's pretty much what I made up. That is true voter demographics. So when you get this big chunk here about the independents, right? You put a guy with a domestic violence a report on the right, those independents that normally would have voted with Republicans this year, they're not going to vote all Republican and then just take him out. Nuh-uh. They're just going to go, screw it. They're going to go straight ticket left instead. This is why we cannot have any kind of potential bomb on the ticket. So but I agree with you about Duggan and Jocelyn. At first, when I found Duggan was coming in, I got a little nervous. That man is really a good campaigner, and I am shocked at the Republicans that are supporting him. Does that surprise you?
You know, when I give these speeches, something like 80% of the people of the groups want me to talk about Mike Duggan, which I find worrisome.
I know.
Because it's like, why are you even considering him? And the clarifying question I always ask, if Mike Duggan ran as a Democrat, would you support him? And they say no. And so I say, what makes you think he's not one?
We get all these people.
Mike Duggan is the trans independent. You don't get to just identify as an independent and say you are. You are what your record says you are. So
I'm gonna use that, but every time I do that, but I'm gonna credit you for it. Wow, that's good. Trans.
He's a trans independent.
All right.
We cannot credit him for
Right.
because he has shown no change of heart. No. He never said this is what I disagree with the Democrats on.
Agreed.
He never said this is what I'm independent of. He never said that.
No.
And so that, to me, is a big missing piece in his story. He went independent as an electoral strategy.
Yes.
Fun fact, Democrats have not elected a white male governor in Michigan since 1986.
Yeah,
since Jim Blanchard.
Yep.
And so since 1990, if you run a white guy, you lose. And since 2002, if you run a white woman, you win. And so what Mike Duggan is trying to run from...
Are you talking about the Democrats? Okay,
governor,
yeah. All right, yeah.
And so what Mike Duggan is running from is that history, is that recent history that says it has to be a white woman, and that woman being Jocelyn Benson. And so to me, that was an electoral strategy. There's nothing heartfelt about his departure from the Democrat Party. And so if you understand that Mike Duggan is a Democrat, then he just becomes a lot less attractive.
Right. And when people question that, to me, I challenge them right back with, if he really is that middle of the road or that much of a Republican or a partial Republican, show me one Republican candidate or policy he's ever supported.
And there's not one.
Nope. Not
and
one
you
anybody's
can't say
ever brought
that,
to me.
Ronald Reagan appointed his dad as a judge. That was also in 1986. So how far back are we going to go for even one shred of proof that Mike Duggan is a Republican when in the 40 years since, all he's been is a Democrat?
What really gets me is his claims that he fixed Detroit.
Right.
That one gets me because I was a chief of staff for the senator who was our office that worked with Snyder's strategy guy. And we put together a lot of the work we worked a lot with the Detroit reform team that, that brought the EFM in, that did all that stuff. We helped with tours of Detroit, getting support for the light authority, for the school authority, all that stuff Snyder did. Duggan got in the middle of it. Duggan fought us. Mm-hmm. So it was absolutely fought by Duggan. He got in the middle. He fought us. All right, we're going to go to a commercial real quick, and we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about Duggan and everything else that's going in here. So
someone once said, "Where your treasure goes, there also will be your heart." What kind of world do you want to invest in? Do your investments fund industries that tempt people to harm relationships? What if you could be more intentional with your money? What if your investments built content that enriched others' minds? Jason Huntley, CFP, has been guiding families for 30 plus years to plan, invest, and build for the next generation. Scan the QR code now to make that first step to investing intentionally. John Adams warned that the Constitution is wholly inadequate without a moral and religious people. As conservatives, we must reclaim the faith that shaped it, rooted in Jesus Christ and the Bible. To help you understand the historic Christianity that our country was founded on, check out theexaltedchrist.com, a resource website proclaiming Christ as King.
Whoops. Welcome to The Right Side.
And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank.
You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems will be
Yes,
solved. Learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there.
And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Rankin with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Bode. Thanks, Kelly.
There are
no shortage of them.
We have, but we love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah blah blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh yeah,
3.2 million citizens.
It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, to give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted. And we're back. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about Duggan. That's what we were talking about. So, yes, I believe that I remember he got in the way. He was a pain in the butt. All those fixes, that was all that, the grand bargain, all that stuff was Snyder. As I'm saying, he did a lot for the state that a lot of people don't realize. And he fixed Detroit. He really did. But so Duggan taking the credit now just makes my skin crawl.
My argument about Mike Duggan is that Mike Duggan benefited a lot more from being mayor of Detroit than Detroit benefited from having Mike Duggan as mayor.
Oh, amen, brother.
And so if we tell those stories, right?
Yes.
I mean, so this guy is presenting as some kind of guru of good government who knows how your kids should be educated. And if we,
I love the way you put things.
You like that?
I do.
And if we, so the whole theory of Mike Duggan is that he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so because people thought he knew what he was doing, the idea was, oh my God, if Mike Duggan were to take an interest in Detroit schools, if he were to take that under his purview as Detroit mayor, then the kids of Detroit would be better off.
Agreed.
Mike Duggan rebuffed this at every turn. And so now he didn't want to do anything to do with 50,000 school kids in Detroit, but now he has the plan for 1 million school kids across Michigan.
Right.
And so the more you just literally talk about the Mike Duggan record and what he actually did as opposed to how he's perceived, a lot of that new penny shine will wear off of Mike Duggan. So, and I think Benson is so obviously bad at her job and not in any way qualified for a promotion. So it's not only do you have history in your favor, you have bad Democrat candidates who are also splitting the vote. I don't see anything special in Mike Duggan. And so if the Michigan Republicans are simply able to talk about the situations on the ground in Michigan and not get pulled into Iran, Venezuela, Minnesota, whatever the fake news of the day, if you simply talk about what was done to Michigan and the Democrats who did it, you have a chance to win.
That's true. And you made a remark a little while ago that I kind of wanted to brainstorm on or spitball. And that was, you said that, the Democrats have come up with a strategy that a white male won't win. So therefore you got to have a female in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that watching the state tank under Granholm, maybe for some of the older ones, but watching the 8 years of the nightmare of Whitmer, especially after what happened with COVID, do you think that might put a hinder on maybe we don't want any more white women in there? I mean, for the
that's certainly what I think. But I think the Democrats won't understand reason until they actually suffer a loss.
Okay.
And so this is another thing that makes you say, is Mike Duggan as good as they claim? Because we hear that he's this master politician. Well, why would a master politician think they couldn't beat Jocelyn Benson in a primary?
I don't think they did. I don't think that's what it is at all. I think he realizes what's going on with the Democrat Party, and it's lost its momentum. He watched the numbers plummet last election and decided this is my only. He knows he could beat Jocelyn. What he doesn't think he could do is beat the Republican alone. So I think what he's hoping to do is pull. Remember, there's that big purple there. I think he's hoping to grab that whole big purple thing there, plus the left. And I think he thinks he's going to win. But the problem is, I don't think that purple are ready for Democrats and I think you're right. The Democrats are going to be split. I don't think that purple's going to go his way. I think purple's going to go right this time. Just like you said, it swings. The pendulum's swinging to the right this year.
Absolutely.
Unless we shoot ourselves in the foot doing something stupid.
And so that's the scenario that worries me. Is Benson
me too.
Obviously is tanking and will continue to tank. She's not a good candidate. She's not good at her job.
Right.
Democrats say, well, thank God we have two candidates. They go with Duggan.
Right.
If they're joined by Tigers game Republicans who think, oh, man, the 2 blocks between Comerica Park and where I parked to get to the game, those were nice and clean. So Detroit must be back. The Tigers game Republican is to me my biggest threat in 2026. And so if we don't do something actively stupid, like act like a guy who's been a Democrat for 40 years so somehow not one now.
I know.
And if we just stick to common sense, there's a good chance of success.
I think so too. I think you're 100% right. What do you think about? What are your thoughts on Anthony Hudson joining the Libertarian Party all of a sudden? Is that going to have a effect or no?
I don't know that there's any Anthony Hudson voters or supporters or anything.
He's got quite a little faction out there.
He claims he has one.
But if you look at his, I'm not saying, I don't know how big they are, and I don't know that it would sway an election. But you look at his videos or you look at anything, and there is a whole bunch of comments. He's got a little, I don't know what you call it, a little cult going. And it's
But what are those people saying? I mean, are they people who don't like him, or that? I mean,
no. They're people that were that believe anything he has to say.
So we've seen this before, where influencers will have a massive following, and I don't even think he has a massive following. But then they try to sell T-shirts, and they can't move any T-shirts.
That's right.
And so getting people to do a specific thing is one thing. Getting bored people to show attention to someone who says outlandish things is not that difficult. Yeah. And so I think he's playing a different game than the one that politics is. Politics is about getting people to show up to vote for you. It's not just about pure attention. And so he has some attention. I wouldn't say he has a ton of it. And so I don't think he'll matter. I think he's actually, by leaving the Republican Party, he's done a favor, because Republican candidates don't have to be asked about every stupid publicity stunt he does.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and I think that he does have, like I said, he has a diehard following. I don't know that they're big in numbers, but boy, they're there for him. But again, I don't think they're gonna make that big of a difference. Frankly, I would be shocked if he got the signatures. I want to say that, and I don't know this. I don't know the date, but I think independents have a longer time to get their signatures in than Republicans or Democrats. And I don't think it's due the same date.
Well, he's going to need every moment of that time.
And I think that libertarians, I don't know if libertarians, because it is a named party, I think they have to follow the same rules. But you're right. I mean, they're almost out of time to get on the ballot. So I don't know. And he can't use his other signature. He can't use those other signatures now. They've got to be 100. That's right. So if he's thinking about turning in, any of those signatures that were dated before he declared, and frankly, there's confusion about the date, because there are some people that said he signed up for the Libertarian Party in October, but he physically declared it here right before the county convention in February. So I know I ended up writing an article on the Right Side News. I did an article about Anthony, and it's like he declared that the Republican Party was evil, it was horrible, he was leaving. This was February 23rd or 24th, and then tried to vote in the convention, and Genesee County wouldn't let him in. Said, "You're not a Republican,"
right? And
he had a cow. So I ended up doing an article saying, when you choose to leave, that's it. You left. The door shut. And it's like saying I divorced thee and moving off, and then coming back and wanting marital affairs. No, you don't get those anymore. You signed away.
No.
Anyway, so all right. Well, I didn't know how, what you thought about that. I don't think it's going to matter, because I doubt the signatures are going to get there, and I suspect that's why he didn't get the support he wanted, was the signatures, or the efforts weren't really there. So, he did go places. He did speak a lot about, I'm not going to have this when I'm governor. And that's all well and good, but you got to be able to dot your I's and cross your T's as well. So
right.
What else is on your mind these days about the upcoming elections?
Yeah, just, my big thing is May 5th, right? May 5th, the millage.
You mean our Lincoln Day dinner? That is on your mind?
It is.
Okay.
That is on my mind. But also, in so many communities, there's going to be millage votes. So people are going to try to raise your property taxes on May 5th. And the reason why you see millages happen in February, May, or August is because they know that you're not going to show up. Because they know Republicans don't show up unless Sean Hannity is talking about the election.
Yep.
And so, it's the same reason they talk about this as a midterm in November.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we want to do with May, I have a talking point out there, no May millage. And so Matt Maddock, he just passed a bill in the Michigan House. It's not law.
I was just going to bring it up.
Sometimes people think it's law.
No.
It's not law.
Not yet.
They're attempting that it would be law, but the idea is that millage votes would all be moved to November. Now, that's not the law yet.
Not yet.
And so what I want is to create a movement where we say, as voters, no May millage, no August millage. And so it's kind of like don't ask, don't tell. So if you're a government official watching this, don't ask me to raise the property taxes on my house in May or in August. If you want me to even consider it, you have to ask me in November, which is when most people vote. And as a voter, if asked to raise your property taxes, you need to make sure to show up and vote no.
Yes.
And show that underhanded tactics that rely on low turnout and offbeat election cycles are not going to work anymore.
Well, there's another
benefit.
So we are
watching, we are showing up.
Yeah.
And we're going to vote no. If you do not ask me in November, the answer is always no.
Well, there's another benefit for them, and that is when they do it in August or May. If it doesn't work, they get another bite of the apple at the next election. So if they try it in August, it doesn't work, they try it again in November. So and frankly, now I was told this morning that there's a Senate bill that just passed. And I have to look it up, but a Senate bill just passed, according to whoever it was that told me, that the primary in August gets eliminated, and it is now a May primary. What do you think of that?
I think the Democrats like that one.
I think I like that.
Yeah,
one.
that was a Democrat one. But I don't have any strong thoughts on it. I don't really care when the primary is. I think a longer season would help, especially right now. So whoever is the nominee, whoever's the Republican nominee, is going to face a big problem in August.
For what?
For governor.
Okay.
Which is that you're running against 2 Democrats, and now you have 3 months to take on 2 opponents.
Right. That's why.
Right.
That's why the MRP moved back. On March 28th, we're having the endorsement committee that gives the AG and the SOS and the judicial candidate time to, more time. And I agree. I think all of it should back up to May. If we had every primary back up to May, that gives everybody much more time, including us, because you're right. The governor is going to have a hard time.
Yeah, let's make it a 6-month election cycle rather than 3 months, because in situations like this, what you're going to have is one person taking on 2 opponents. And that's going to take a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's going to take a lot of messaging.
Sure.
It's going to take a lot. It's going to be very hard to do. And so with a 3-month cycle, the 2-on-1 almost becomes an advantage for the Democrats. And so that's why it's so important that we get in the habit of showing up to these elections.
Sure.
And speaking to a group of college kids last week really clarified it. If you call an election a midterm, you're essentially saying that it's not that important. If your friend in college told you it's final exams and they said, I'm really going to crush it on midterms, you would realize that they're probably not going to do well because they're not taking it appropriately seriously.
Right.
They're calling finals midterms.
Right.
And so we need to appreciate that November is our final exam.
Yes, it is.
If you don't want to have to move to Kentucky or some other state that has sheet hand, you need to win the election.
Yes.
Because this is our last chance. If Democrats were to run Michigan for 16 years, there would not be a year 17.
We'd all move.
Yeah.
We'd all move. All right, Lisa Elizabeth has a statement. Now we need. I'm assuming that means August. Who is going to knock door to door in the winter? That is true, Lisa. That it shortens the time for the primary knockers, right? Because if it's in May, you basically have the second half of March, April, and beginning of May. So that's what you would have for the primary. Now, having said that, what the whole point is, it's less time for the primary, but it's more time for the primary winner. So yes, Tom Leonard, Eric Nesbitt, all those people would have less door to door, but how much door to door for the primary, but whoever won in May, you'd have from May to November to raise money. Then we'd have everybody knocking for one person for all those months. And it gives us a better benefit against the Dem. I would rather trade less benefit Republican on Republican in order to put the resources, get the extra resources Republican against Dem. It's more important for me that we beat the Dem than it is this Republican candidate beats another one.
Absolutely.
And I think that for us, I mean, the Democrats are doing it now. They have their primary, they had their AG and SOS primary in May. So it makes it, they're a little ahead of us there. So that's why we backed up our convention into May, the endorsement convention. But I think all of them should be in May. I'm for that 100%, and I hope the House allows it to go through. I don't know if they will or not, but it won't have anything to do with the millage. But what I'd like to see, silly me, what I'd like to see is that cooperation that you hate. I would love for them to say, okay, we'll pass your Senate bill making May and August or May and November if you pass our millages only in November bill.
That would be nice.
That would be very nice.
That would be very nice.
That would be very nice.
I would like to see something like that happen.
Yeah, they're not going to work together well. I mean, that's just we just have to hope on that one. What are your thoughts on taking your thoughts about taking the Secretary of State and the Attorney General right out of the conventions?
I think that would take a lot of work.
It would take a ballot.
Right. No one's doing that. I mean, ballot
Somebody's
initiatives
going to next
can
year.
take, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. So if someone wants to try it, I would actually vote for that.
Yeah, they're going to
because
do it
I
next
don't
year.
want 2,000 people to decide something as important as Secretary of State or attorney general.
Agreed.
That's actually how we wound up with Dana Nessel.
That's it.
And that's why Dana Nessel has no future in politics, because there's no more convention race kind of back doors for her to crawl in through.
Yeah.
She would have to face voters in a primary, and voters in a primary would never think that Dana Nessel is their best decision.
Nope.
And so, you get these extreme weirdos like a Dana Nessel. She's a creature of the convention process. I would argue Jocelyn Benson is the same thing.
I would.
We're not producing Frank Kellys and Richard Austins anymore.
Nope.
We're producing these ideologues because it's only the most ideological people who are deciding who these candidates will even be.
Well, I agree with you, but I know that there is going to be an attempt at a amendment next year to totally eliminate that, get them out of there. So hopefully by the time the renewal comes for these four, it's done on an open election as opposed to convention. It's just awful. You're right. It's a very small percentage of the people that picks the primary winner, and anyway, it's not like you have to put extra money. I mean, it saves money, right? No more conventions, except the convention to elect the Republican Party leader. What on earth? How nice would that be? And it doesn't cost any more to put them on a ballot than there's already going to be the ballot, right?
No, it would be. It would make a lot more sense.
A lot more sense. So, all right, well, good to know. So when that happens, when that starts, I'll let you know. You can start putting that on your podcast. So what's next on your podcast? What's the next topic coming for you? Do you have it already? How often? Tell me about your podcast. Like how often?
Yeah, I try to go at least once a week, and so a good friend gave me advice to record multiple at a time, and so we just did the one about how there's a new batch of Republicans that dropped today.
Okay.
Tomorrow I have one about this guy Taylor Marshall on X. He's the Catholic kind of theologian, very smart guy, and he asked the question: what would young men, see of value in the Republican Party?
That is a good question.
And we're supposed to say, no, there's nothing, and Democrats are giving me free college tuition, and there's just nothing we can do. No, what you see in the Republican Party is the same thing Donald Trump saw when he took that escalator in 2015. You see land that's available to be conquered. You see a 170-year-old institution that's led by 85-year-old men who could be toppled over with a strong gust of wind. And so what you see, I mean, look at the Texas Senate race with the U.S. Senate race with John Cornyn, the senator there. This guy's fighting for his political life, and the best attack he can come up with on the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, who's running against him in the primary, his best attack on Ken Paxton is that Ken Paxton stole a pen, an actual writing pen, like 13 years ago.
Aye.
And so we wonder why Republicans don't fight for us, but what we're seeing from John Cornyn is that they don't even fight for themselves. And so when you look at those kind of weak sisters that are out there, and those Romney-type Republicans who aren't able to put up a fight for themselves,
right?
I look at those guys as food. I look at those guys as people who could be replaced. And so what I see for young men, and for young men or old men, is the Republican Party is a vessel. It's a vessel. It can be made what you want it to be. This is an anti-slavery party that really should not have survived past the Civil War, if you think about it. They got everything they wanted. Slavery was over. Why would you continue on? You'd only continue on because there was Republicans still getting elected, which means that they are a vessel for a new message. See, Democrats have been bad, whether they're the party of slavery in the 1860s or the party of abortion in the 2020s. Democrats have pretty much been bad that whole time. But Republicans haven't really they don't always have a consistent reason to exist. And so what I see in the Republican Party is opportunity.
And so how do you translate that into the words or to the mind of putting a hook in the brain of a young man these days?
Take over the party.
To do what with?
To run it in your image.
What would their image be?
They know that.
If a young man, they don't really have a political image yet. How do you entice them into a party?
To create what the life you want, the policies you want, the ideas you want, whatever those may be. They may be different than boomers would have, but that's why you're not asking boomers to do it. And so, whatever age you are, if you want a party that can be overtaken, I would start with the Republican Party, because there's a lot of weak-willed people there. And if you have strong ideas, if you have strong personality, you can take that party over and do a lot of good.
All right. I guess I'd be interested in seeing this new group. I'm seeing a lot of, if you look at the statewide, like state rep candidates, and even a few Senate candidates, they're very young. We've got some very young men.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's good. It's good. And I'll tell you why. I don't believe that a party should be run by a bunch of old timers that, been there, done that.
No.
But I also don't believe it should be completely taken over by a bunch of new people that haven't got a clue.
There should be a mix.
Yes, because if you have all you have is institutional knowledge, you know exactly what works and what doesn't, but you'll never try anything new. And if you only have new and fresh ideas, you'll spin and you'll waste time and resources because you won't have that thing. But it's that working together, that mix. That if the institutional knowledge needs to accept that things might change a bit, but the new people need to come in and understand that these people have been there and done that and can offer wisdom, so don't just mow them down. So if they come in and work together, you're going to have an amazing thing. But unfortunately, too often when that happens, it feels like a takeover, and so you have a takeover and a resistance. And then you have a fracture. Mm-hmm. And then you go like this. And that ends up hurting everybody. So hopefully, as these new young candidates come in and they start working with their party, they understand that these people have a lot of vested interest and a lot of vested time.
They have value.
And they have serious value, as much as equal value to the new ideas that are coming. And the people that have been there forever need to say, yes, these people, this is our future, and we need to give them some rein, and we need to give them some guidance, but we need to let them go. We need to let them roll, but we need to be able to give them guidance, and they need to be able to listen to our guidance. So if we can do that, I have hope. I know we have some very, very good younger candidates coming out in here, and I do classes on how to get elected, like how to right down to the stuff. And we have a great record here. Our people get elected at the top of the ticket when you go through these classes. I mean, I've done 1,100 campaigns, so I know all the tricks and the tricks, And so, I'm pleasantly surprised. We had some candidates, state rep candidates, and Senate candidates coming from other counties. So we had our people in our county, the local trustees and things that come. But we also had some, like I said, statewide candidates from other areas come and sit through them and listen. And I was impressed at the youth. I was impressed at the devotion. I was impressed with the willingness to listen and understand and not come in here and you're not going to tell me.
Know it all.
Unfortunately, that's often what you see with youth. But I was really impressed, and the more I look, the more I see these young candidates coming in, and I'm good. I'd like to be a fly on the wall when these young people come into the caucuses for the first time. I mean, they're gonna take some getting used to from the people that have been there forever and a day, But it's gonna be, I think, if it's done right, it's gonna be a breath of fresh air for the Republicans. It's okay to have new ideas. It's okay to have to challenge some of the status quo. There's nothing wrong with that at all, as long as it's done respectfully on both sides.
Absolutely.
I just don't want any. I just pray for no fractures over this. The fracturing and having that fight, that's one of those ways we talked about earlier where we could be shooting ourselves in the foot and completely cost us these elections. So I know you don't want that, and I don't either.
No.
So I had talks with a young man. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call him again tonight because I want to restate these talks. We were looking at ways to introduce young men into our party. And if they came into our party, I can invite them to our meetings, and they're going to look around and see a bunch of people my age, roughly my age, maybe 5-10 years one way or the other, but it's not going to be their age. And we're not going to get what they interested in. They're not going to know what we're interested in. We're not going to get each other. So what's the bridge to get these young men in and have them be able to learn from and help us understand the next generation and what's needed in politics for them. So I thought to myself, how do we get them in? And I used to work for Habitat for Humanity 100 years ago in a different life. And one of the things, the challenge of Habitat for Humanity is keeping volunteers engaged with you while you're not building a house, in between houses. That's the hard part. In January, there's not a lot for them to do, but you don't want to lose them because they'll go find other things to do. So one of the strategies was something we called the Tuesday Toolman. And what we did was started a group of kind of retirees and also some young men that would every week on Tuesday spend half a day fixing, and we got donated for this, fixing some widow's porch, or fixing some grandpa's ramp, putting a ramp up for him, or fixing the roof on this, this young couple's, that kind of stuff. Yes, bring in young ladies and the young men will join. Yes, that's true in bars too. But so that's why they have ladies' nights in bars, FYI. So, but it was that kind of thing that brought in the volunteers, and it kept them engaged. And while they were engaged, they would learn about Habitat, and they would learn about the families that they were being, and suddenly they're helping, more and more people are helping. So I'm seriously giving thought. Anybody wants to chime in, that's fine. I'm seriously giving thought to we have to come up with a cool name for it, but having a Republican Tuesday Toolman where we have, or maybe a Saturday Sluggers, I don't know. But basically where we find and help, just do these little projects, where we get young men that come in and, maybe they're plumbers, but whatever it is, they come in and we take on helping somebody like that, because they all love to do that kind of thing. And then you bring the women with them. Okay, maybe we need some landscaping over here. We need some hedge trimming over this grandma's house. She can't do it. That kind of thing. You're on social media. You always see the really popular, and I watch them all the time, the reels about the guy that goes around and just totally takes care of a run down landscaping, and he puts it back and he finds, cleans up somebody's yard that really needs it, a single mom or a grandma or something. And these kind of things are immensely popular. And I'm thinking about but to me, if I got some of these older guys in, some of these young guys working together, maybe then some, conversation starts getting had. But I'm always looking for ways to bring in the next generation. And how do we do that? What are your thoughts on bringing in the next generation?
Yeah, I think it just has to, a lot of times you have not because you asked not. And so a lot of times people aren't asked to get off the couch and to get involved.
Sure.
And so, with a baby boomer, it might be like, can I pull you away from Fox News for a night? For a kid, it might be, can I pull you away from your phone for a night? But it's what you're going to get from that experience.
Yes.
What is the thing, right? What is the what? And so if you refine that what will I get from showing up?
We call that a whiffum. What's in it for me?
Right. Right. And so
what's the whiffum?
That's what we have to think. And so, whether it's an opportunity to serve or to lead, what young men are looking for is opportunities. And so that's what has to be offered to get them engaged.
So that's getting them engaged to the grandma. What then needs to happen from that point to get them to start? Of course, I mean, I'm not going to try. Somebody mentioned and someone thought, well, don't you need to be nonprofit to do that? No, I'm not going to go nonprofit, nor am I going to hide that we're Republican. This is a Republican. These are the Republican Crusaders, the Conservative Crusaders, or whatever we want to call ourselves. And it's going to be about Republicans. And it's going to be Republican discussion. I don't want somebody coming saying, well, I don't want to talk about politics.
Right.
No, that's the wrong group. This is the group where it's okay to talk about politics, where it's okay to be up on a roof and say, yeah, I agreed with Trump, or nah, you know what, I like this better about what Trump did. That's fine and dandy, but it's not going to be, but I want to be able to offer something. I thought if we just have the opportunity for them to serve and then offer the discussion that goes with it, maybe that would be, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that's enough, and I'm still probing. So anybody has any ideas, you guys know how to reach me. Chair@LivingstonRepublicans.com. How do we get that going? I have a young man that's very charismatic, and he's very well presented. But I'm hoping that we'll run this. I'm still working with him to kind of nail this down. Matter of fact, I swear I'm going to call him on the way home. But I feel like this is something that can really work. It can really work, and we can engage everybody. We can engage everybody from local electeds to, like I said, your shop class from school if you felt like it.
Absolutely.
So, but absolutely do not unapologetically name it the Conservative Crusaders or whatever, and just make it about the community and get out there and do it. So, what you have any other ideas, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's the exact kind of thing that would work, is giving young men opportunities to show up.
Okay.
Because they're not always told that their voice matters or that their skills matter, or given chances to build skills. And so, yeah, these young guys, if you expect the best out of young men, they'll shock you every time.
That's true.
They'll come in above expectations.
Word.
And so, yeah, opportunity plus expectation. Setting that bar high, I think that's how you get them.
What brought you into politics? Well, what was the first spark that thought, that's something I want to look into a little bit more?
Oh, I've been interested in this stuff since, I remember the 2000 election.
Well, you were a young man. You were a young man. What did?
Yeah, the 2000 election. It's just following every minute of that and seeing how it mattered, who leads the country.
Good.
And so ultimately, you go through many years and cycles, and you realize local government and state government are where most of the power are held.
Agreed.
And most of the problems are. A lot of times our frustration in politics is that we ask the wrong people for the wrong things.
Right.
And so Donald Trump isn't going to fix the street, the potholed street near your house.
That's right.
He's not going to fix the crime in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be local officials. And so if we target our angst and our energies to the right places, where you can actually see things change, where your vote matters more, then you get an engaged citizen.
That's true. And the other benefit I was thinking of this young men's and eventually young women's activity is that they start learning while serving, and maybe they start coming to meetings, or maybe they don't, maybe they become a delegate, and they start learning about, as you said it when we first started talking, that people run this place. People run our lives, and they govern our lives.
Nothing runs itself.
And there's nothing wrong with you being one of those people.
Yeah.
And if I can get some young people learning conservative principles and meeting conservatives and understanding what we do and why we do it this way, and we can start, one of the things I did as chair, we have had phenomenal chairs in Michigan, or in Livingston County. I'm sorry, Michigan too, but in Livingston County that have done some outrageous things. We've all got our skills, right? One of the focuses I put on that triple the focus on is the absolute low, the very basic county, township, city, trustee level, library board level, where we put a lot of resources. We put resources into our state rep rates, but we also put resources into our county trustee and our county and our township trustees and our city councils and their school boards. And when we find conservative candidates, we try to get them in on all levels, not just the top levels. So it is that is because your school board member can do more damage to your community than your state rep can, because your state rep is 1 out of 110. Your school board's 1 out of 7. So if you get the wrong people in there, suddenly your taxes are going up, and you got all kinds of problems with your school. And if your schools are tanking, or if your schools are at the on the front page because you got boys and girls in the same bathrooms and things, suddenly now people are moving out of your community or pulling the money away from the schools. Now they got to they're losing money. They got to put a millage on. Anyway, they cancel buses. So it's a trickle, or it's a ripple effect that most people don't understand. So I put a lot of emphasis on helping local candidates. Now we do, like I said, we get involved in our state senate and And our, we're very much in love with our congressman here, and we do what we can for him. But it's the library boards and it's the little things like that we get involved in. We've got a local library board that for the first time in 1,100 years has got a conservative majority. And the first thing they did was, and you'd think we killed somebody's grandma. The first thing we did was they voted to put a label on sexually explicit books. Just that not ban them, not forbid people to read them, but sexually explicit books have to have a label saying they're sexually graphic, right? That's all. And the lines at the library board with the people, it was, you're banning books, don't you tell me what I'm allowing my children to read. And each time it was, no, we're putting a label on so you know what your child's reading if you think your child can read this. And we had this, I had one of the board members, the board president, on here, and as we're discussing this, I knew it was coming and I was ready for it. And we were going through, and you got the Democrats writing in here saying how terrible it is. And I said, it really, porn needs to be labeled, simple as that. And sure enough, the one lady, there is no porn in a library. Oh, funny you should say that. And I brought up 2 passages. And I said, and each passage was extremely sexually graphic. I mean, really sexually graphic. I do this, then I'm going to do this, then I did this, whatever. And there was 2 paragraphs, right? And I truthfully said, one of these is from a book that is a graphic that any kid can read in any library. The other one is from Penthouse Forum. You tell me which one's which. And nobody could. And that was the last of the nonsense from the librarians. You couldn't. They were both. And actually, the reality of it, the worst of the 2 was the one that the kids could read at any time. At least in the Penthouse, it labels what it is. It's up on a high shelf. You have to be 18 to read it. You can't just pick it off a shelf and read it. It tells you exactly what it is. And here's these other books that any kid can read at any time. And my statement at the time was, my kids used to ask me, Mom, can I go hang up uptown? No. Can I just go hang out at the park? No. All right, can I go to the library? Sure. And now I'm thinking, I couldn't do that now. Right. Now I tell them, all right, go party uptown. You're safer. I mean, it's bad. Mark Ashley Price says he never thought about it like that, but a school board member could do more damage than a state rep. Absolutely. 1 of 5, Mark, as opposed to 1 on, a state rep can pass a law that eventually will affect, the whole state, but a school board can get you right now. So, and it only takes, 3 of its 1 person and 3 companions. That's all it takes. It doesn't even take 7. It takes 4 of 7. 4 of 7. That's all it takes. Suddenly there's damage all over the place. So, and you get the wrong 4 and it's a big problem, and try getting them out of there. School board, that is my biggest challenge as a chair is school board. We've got a horrendous, I need school board candidates from anybody watching this, anybody on there complaining about something, please call me. I'll help you run. I will help you with your campaign, but please, you want to run for school board, you're conservative, get a hold of me, chair@LivingstonRepublicans.com. You've all seen it posted on there 100 times, and here's Tyler posting it again. So that is what you need to do. We need school board members. So, well, I tell you, James, I could not be happier that you came all the way out here to hang out with us and chat with us, whether it was 100% agreement or a little bit of sharpening of the swords and defending our positions. Absolutely. That's okay. But you know what? I would never say you were not a Republican. I would never say you were a bad Republican. You work hard and you do what you got to do. What is your podcast name, and how do they find it?
Yeah, James Dixon Podcast. It's on Substack. It's on Spotify. Those are the ones I tend to use. It's also on YouTube.
Oops. Nope.
Dickson.
Yeah. Podcast. Okay. And we'll put that up there. Okay. Huh? Oh, that's all right. James Dixon podcast. You can capitalize it if you wish. Tyler chose not for Tyler's reasons. He typed too fast. He said. So look for the James Dixon podcast, and you say Spotify, and you say
Spotify, YouTube, and Substack.
Substack. You know what? It's when you're old. This is what happens. I just learned about Substack today. Just today, yes. So Joni is our one of our rock stars here in Livingston County. Excellent podcast. Thank you for joining. Yes, I just learned about that. Chris Long had an article on there. So
yes,
I called him and I said, all right, tell me, who is this James Dixon? And he says, you'll like him. I said, okay, good. He's on. So I loved Chris. We've had Chris out here, and Chris is a favorite here in Livingston County.
Good guy.
Yes, I have to take the microphone and put it over there by Tyler because he booms when he gets going, and I tease him about it. But Chris Long has got one of the best, most genuinely laughs I've ever heard in my life. So that's the mission: make him laugh. So we do have we're really happy that you came out and listen to his podcast. He's got a lot of interesting things to say. And we hope that we get you back out here again. So if you find something what's going on that you wanna have another face-to-face with some people, then you just let me know. We'll bring you right back out. Love to have you right back.
I would absolutely
and I
be
appreciate this. Look, where have I got it? What did I do with it? Right here. Look what I got, guys. I got one of these. Politics Local again, which I love. I shall wear that. I'm looking forward to it. So, and James in response got a packet of bunny seasoning. So he has no idea. I always tell everybody. I always tell everybody. First one's free, and after that, you want some candy, little boy. That's how it works. Chris Long. Yes, I will have him back again. Chris Long is actually coming to. He's gonna chat at the Lincoln Day dinner, so anybody wants to see him there. I love the T-shirt. I do too. It's great. So this is your slogan there. Make politics local.
Make politics local again. Absolutely.
I love it. I do love it. I really do. You since you're good at coming up with slogans, come up with my Conservative Crusaders or whatever. Come up with my Tuesday Toolmen name. I got to have something like that. So, all right. Any last words from you, James?
I thank you for this opportunity. It's a blessing to be able to talk to other Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this is it. Like for us, for Republicans, 2026 is a loser leaves town match.
Mm-hmm.
If we lose, you pretty much need to find a new home because Democrats will wreck the place. Democrats still have a reprieve because when Republicans run it right, they benefit from that too. So thank you so much, Deb. Thank you so much, Tyler. And thank you all for joining us tonight. It's been a blessing.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for us tonight. It's a wrap. I will see you. Just so you know, tomorrow, everybody get on your Facebook and wish our commission vice chair happy birthday. That's for him tomorrow. So my day will be taking him out to lunch and birthday shopping. But I will see you here next Tuesday night. Right? Yes, we have one next Tuesday, and don't forget. The Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, we have gubernatorial candidate Eric Nesbitt. We have Lena Epstein from Michigan, University of Michigan Regent, and we have Andy Anusis, who's a Wayne State Regent and 100 years ago former Livingston County chair, so GOP chair. So we're looking forward to welcoming him back home. So we'll see you next Tuesday here. Good night.